Hello everybody and welcome, I'm SonOfmowgef, and today I'm going to be recommending some films that have nothing to do with Christmas. Now you might ask yourself why I would do such a random thing, especially at this time of year, and it's because this list of films was originally for a Halloween video, but I got spanked so hard by YouTube's copyrightisms that I kind of abandoned it for a little while, but I wanted to resurrect it in a new form, and this seemed like a nice silly one. So, first on the list, we have The Endless. The Endless follows two brothers that receive a videotape from a commune they were part of when they were young, with talk of its members ascending. One brother is worried that the commune has become like a death cult, and the other brother only has fond memories of odd but harmless people. When they arrive, they find exactly that, a small, close-knit and friendly group that welcome them with open arms. As I'm sure you've guessed by now, things aren't quite what they seem, and things unravel in the bizarrest of ways, including a game of tug-and-war with the sky. Although it's not the best film you'll ever see, it will be one of the most unique. Well worth a watch if you're after something more than an average slasher for your not Christmas film list. Next on the list, we have Resident Evil Degeneration and Damnations. Fans of the Resident Evil games will love these, as do I. The first two films in a series of 4, both films follow everyone's favourite Resident Evil protagonist, Leon S. Kennedy, and also familiar characters such as Claire Redfield and Ada Wong. They're made in Japan by Capcom themselves. These films fit perfectly with the games and are considered canon. Even the voice acting is authentic, with Leon being played by Paul Mercer from Resident Evil 4 and The Dark Side Chronicles. Claire Redfield is played by Alison Court from Resident Evil 2, Code Veronica, The Dark Side Chronicles, and Operation Raccoon City. We've got zombies, lickers, tyrants, as well as a good share of betrayal and conspiracy. These are fun action films, and they're well worth a watch as a double feature for not Christmas. Being from merry old England, I couldn't help but include a film made on location in London's underground. Our lead is played by the talented Franco Potente, who you might recognise from Lola Runs and the Bourne Identity films. She plays Kate, who, in an attempt to seduce George Clooney, she heads out to a party he's attending, only to fall asleep on one of the many platforms at Charing Cross. When she wakes up, she realises that she's locked in and not alone, even if it does seem that way at first. What follows is arguably the most terrifying game of hide and seek through a seemingly endless maze of grimy tunnels. Grab some friends, a few beers, and enjoy this gripping and claustrophobic entry into your list of films that have nothing to do with Christmas. Aniara is one of our Swedish entries onto this list, and interestingly, it's based off a Swedish poem from 1956 of the same name. The actress Emil Gerbers plays a character that's never actually properly named. She's only ever referred to as the Mima Robe. She works on a transport ship taking refugees from a dying Earth to a new colony on Mars. When the Aniara is almost destroyed and knocked off course by a mid-journey collision, the pilot is forced to eject the fuel to avoid an explosion. This leaves the craft no way to correct its course and sends them heading endlessly into deep space. To deal with the increasing sense of hopelessness, the passengers overuse an AI therapy device called the Mima, hence Mima Robe. To say the AI breaks down is a massive understatement, but I won't say more here to avoid spoilers. Now, I don't normally issue trigger warnings. I credit my viewers with being able to tell for themselves what content is and isn't suitable for them. However, this film is very rough on the emotions. It deals with serious issues, disturbing and potentially mentally scarring ones, that derive from a large group of people being swallowed by hopelessness and insanity. Consider yourself warned. Under the Skin. While this film is pitched as an adaptation of Michael Faber's book of the same name, it's completely removed from that story. Here we have Scarlett Johansson in, as far as I'm concerned, her best performance to date. She plays what could loosely be called an alien. Her job on this planet is to seduce male humans and lead them to their doom in a otherworldly pool hidden in an abandoned house. Despite the stoic nature of her character, Scarlett Johansson is able to bring her to life with almost pure performance. The woman hardly has any spoken lines spread across the entire film, and yet it's easy to discern her state of mind. That's not something you get often with any film. Even taking into account this movie's accolades and critical acclaim, I still consider it to be an underrated gem that should be welcome on everyone's collection of weird and wonderful films that have nothing to do with Christmas. Let the Right One In is another Swedish entry on this list. Let the Right One In closely follows the story set out by John Lindqvist in his book of the same name. The main character of this movie is Oscar. He's the weird kid at school. He doesn't have any friends and he's bullied on a daily basis until a young woman called Ely moves into the apartment building. The movie then tells the story of how the two develop a close and surprisingly heartwarming friendship, while Ely lives out her second life as a vampire, aided by the man posing as her father, but in reality is Ely's thrall, for lack of a better term, who kills people and drains their blood so Ely can live without the risk of being exposed. I'm regularly shocked by how few people have seen this one, despite being one of the more popular movies on the list. On the surface, it's a story that's been told before, but when you look closer, you can see it deals with much more involved issues like transgenderism. Let the Right One In is a charming and adult movie, even if it is told through the lens of children. This is one I'd gladly watch any day of the year. The Host. No list of movies that have nothing to do with Christmas would be complete without an entry from South Korea. The Host was filmed by Bong Joon-ho, who also brought us the utterly brilliant movie Parasite. Easily mistakable as a bog-standard creature feature, the real appeal of this movie is the interpersonal interactions between the characters. It deals with striking honesty how families either fall apart or come together in times of terror, despite the moments of humour scattered throughout. One of the best aspects of this movie is that there's no plot armour to be had here. Everyone is in the line of fire. There's too much going on under the hood of this movie for me to cover here, but rest assured the story is engaging, with characters that actually come across as real people, dealing with a monster that has a uniqueness all of its own, going well beyond what you would expect from the host's limited marketing. The Witch Subversion. South Korea have produced some of my favourite media of all time, and The Witch Subversion is no exception. The Witch is an absolutely joyful action film, filled with twists and turns. The main character is the result of a kind of super soldier program, And no doubt she is a force to be reckoned with. Think John Wick if he had genius level intelligence and telekinesis. She's attempting to live a normal life, having been adopted by an elderly couple living on a farm. However, years later, she's being hunted down by several other young people who were also produced by the same experiment. They're not subtle in their approach either. They torture and murder their way across South Korea, only to find they have bitten off way more than they can chew. If you're looking for a massively entertaining film to add to your list of films that have nothing to do with Christmas, then The Witch Subversion should be at the top of it. The Innocents. Hailing from one of the happiest countries on earth comes a Norwegian film, The Innocents. And to say it's a dark supernatural thriller doesn't do it any justice at all. The Innocents is about a small group of children who are mysteriously imbued with supernatural abilities after moving into the same apartment building. The Innocents asks the question of, have you raised children that would, given superpowers, act kindly and benevolently? These parents think so. Sadly, they are mistaken. Grossly so. What starts off as endearing friendships formed from their differences, these children have to decide how to use the gifts they've been given, and events go from tender to sinister at a rapid pace. While dealing more with the morals and desires of children than scares and gore, The Innocents is still horrifying enough to earn its place as an underrated horror classic. The Colour, aka Die Farbe. Don't get confused by the title. It's a German movie and an adaptation of one of my favourite stories ever, namely H.P. Lovecraft's The Colour Out of Space. It's set in Germany and follows a man looking for his disturbed father. He meets another man who recalls the mind-bending events that follow the arrival of a meteor that crashes into a nearby farm. Let's just get this out of the way. This film is extremely low budget, and it shows, almost painfully so in several cases. However, that doesn't stop The Colour from being the best adaptation of the story to date, in my humble opinion. If you can excuse the less than stellar effects, you'll be plunged into a movie that drips with atmosphere and slowly building dread. Interestingly, The Colour is filmed almost entirely in black and white, except for the colour itself. I can't say this for everyone, but when I watch a film in black and white, my brain quickly adjusts to it. It's really easy for me to forget the lack of colour, so you can imagine how alien the colour looks when it's presented in full and vivid colour. It's an inspired and brilliant move from the movie makers that seamlessly fits into the forms and themes of the film that has already pulled you in. I do really love The Colour, and it well deserves its top spot on my list of films that have nothing to do with Christmas. Well, that's my list of films that have nothing to do with Christmas. Please do like and subscribe if you didn't do that already. Put your comments in the comments section and let me know what you think. I shall be back in the new year to cover the games I got gifted for Christmas, because I always get gifted games for Christmas. And I hope you all have a happy whatever it is that you celebrate. I will see you soon.